Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another round of Adiraiju Plays Godzilla, Monster of Monsters. Today we are headed to my least favorite level in the game, Pluto. Pluto is the largest stage in the game, and that might come as a surprise to some of you. Remember back when Pluto was a planet? Well, it was also known as the smallest planet, and ironically, it is by far the largest of the stages. You're going to be here for a while, and if you look at that little old timing bar, this part's going to be a beaver. So, what we're going to do today, just to spend some time, is to look through Toho Kingdom's list of things that are different between the US and Japanese version of the game. Alright, first off, the Japanese version is entirely Japanese! Aside from that, there's also the fact that the password system is, in both places, totally in English. That's a bit of a surprise. Let's see, the Japanese title is also simply called Godzilla, or rather Gojira, while the US version goes by Godzilla Monster of Monsters, or as they call it nowadays, Godzilla NES. Apparently the title screens of both games are different. Remember back when you saw the title screen at the beginning of Part 1? Way long ago? Well, it was Godzilla's back, and meanwhile in the Japanese version, we actually see a close-up of Godzilla's head and claws looming out at the viewer. It's the, apparently it's the Mosu Gojira suit, which is the suit that was used in Godzilla vs. Mothra, or Mothra vs. Godzilla. Anyways, it's the one that came out back in the 60s, not the 90s. Let's see. The monster's movement, I actually mentioned this one last time. The monster's movement on the maps is different in the different regions. In the US version, Godzilla can go up to 4 spaces. Godzilla can go up to 2 spaces, Mothra can go up to 4 spaces. In the original Japanese version, Mothra could go up to 2 spaces, Godzilla only 1 space, but he could also go 2 spaces if one of them were one of those warp levels. Let's see. In the Japanese version, the bosses had increased regeneration rates between rounds. Apparently, for example, Godzilla on Earth regains a fifth of a bar of health each turn in the US version, while in the Japanese version he regains 2 bars each turn. The music, let's see, apparently there's a couple of changes in the music and in the soundtrack too, but it's mostly just what order they go in, and the sound test for the American version, which is accessible through the password screen, is, well, it's longer, but most of the stuff that you get there is thanks to the different sound effects that are also considered parts of the sound test. Let's see. Apparently, some of the monsters have different spellings. Gezora just has an H on the end in Japanese. Mogura is known as Mogula. Baragon in Japan is apparently known as Varagon. What the hell? Hedra is missing an O, so it's actually the way it sounds. So, Hedra. Alright then. Mechagodzilla is missing a hyphen, and King Ghidorah is, in the US version it's known as Ghidorah, and in the Japanese version it's King Ghidorah. Okay then. Let's see, there's also apparently, there's an order difference. In the US version, the lower level monsters will always move first, so that's why you'd have Mogura and Gezora running after you first thing, and then the monsters near the back of the screen would start attacking you. This is reversed in the Japanese version for some reason, so we have the monsters at the very back of the screen going first, which can be a little confusing because the ones at the back of the screen would get bunched up against the ones at the very back, and by the time that they actually got their shit together, you were already halfway across the screen. Let's see. There apparently is not a point system in the original Japanese version of the game. Apparently the leveling up system doesn't actually have anything to do with the score. It's, apparently it's arbitrary. I really have no idea how they determine it, but the Japanese version just has no score system. Let's see, what else? Actually, that seems to be about it in terms of differences between the US version and the Japanese version. So how long do we have left to go? We're only 5 minutes in. Wow, this is gonna be unpleasant. Well, at least it's not going to be too bad. Let's see. Hi there! Bye there! There's not much else to say. Pluto is really big, and there's not much that can be done that couldn't be done in previous levels. This is the part of the game where it stops deciding to be fun, and it starts saying, you know what, I'm gonna make you wish you never picked me up. Not, I regret trying to beat you, but regretting that I ever picked you up. Oh boy. Pluto, at least, if nothing else, has a wide variety of different levels. It's got a little bit of every single level type in the game that we have encountered so far, and yeah. Oh, I do so hate those little flying saucers. Little ninny hammers. Well, the further you go along with Pluto, the sooner you realize it's actually, all things considered, relatively straightforward. There's that upper path that you saw and a lower path, and if you play your cards right, you can actually dodge a good-sized number of the monsters that will try to attack you. I'm not going to do that here because I am lazy, but whatever works. Let's see. Pluto at least... Actually, Pluto looks like what Neptune should look like, and... Well, no, what am I saying? Pluto looks like what Uranus should have looked like, and Uranus looked a lot more like Venus. So, makes me wonder what Neptune's going to look like. Yeesh. What are those supposed to be, anyway? Grapes? Well, that's the end of those things. That's one good thing about near the end of the game. Yeah, the monsters will show up in greater numbers, but you'll be so tough that you'll be plowing through them anyway, so that's handy. Always very handy. I wonder who exactly, Yeesh, in the jungle, the mighty jungle, we're gonna go down without a fight. Hey! That was weird. What else? What else? Oh, we've got, yeah, we've got Death Asparagus here. We've got giant man-eating mouths. We've got, ow, Garoga ships, and yeah, I think I can do something here different here. I'll look up exactly what these enemies are and where they come from. So, in that case, I will simply Well, I'll let you know as soon as I find out. Alright, so right here, we see Mothra actually doesn't have much of a harder time against Hedra, against Godzilla, except for the fact that Mothra doesn't do nearly as much damage. If you'll notice, Hedra's slime globs actually are different in Mothra's fight. They're a gray color instead of the multicolored stuff that Godzilla goes up against. Fortunately, if you just stay at a certain distance, Hedra simply can't touch you. Anyways, yeah, that's something else they can do. They can bunch up and keep you from doing anything worth doing. Ouch. Double ouch, triple ouch, quadruple ouch. I really do not like the Matangos. I mean, technically the mushroom things aren't that tough, but those little guys can swerve around real quick. And you probably won't lose to them, but you'll probably regret beating them too. Whoosh. Now, Hedra's attacks that are multicolored here are not the only changes in boss fights between Mothra and Godzilla. Baragon and Gigan's heat rays also are a little bit different if you're facing Mothra or Godzilla. They're a bit more orange if you're facing them as Mothra, as if I recall correctly. Actually, come to think of it, Hedra and Mothra were in a movie together. What am I thinking? At least Baragon is, at least Baragon actually puts up more of a fight than Hedra, which is pretty weird to those of us who are more familiar with the movies. Bleh. Don't you worry about me, or I'll shoot you in the face. Looch. Baragon is probably my least favorite monster to face, because by the time you've adapted to what he has shifted into, he's already changed back to ground stance or walking stance. Fortunately, the atomic ray hits him either way, and the tail swipe, well, that could potentially hit him either way, depending on how far away you are. At least he does back up. In case you didn't notice, yeah, you have to go all the way around that big curve to face Mechagodzilla and to get into the... Yeah, I kind of gave that away. Yeah, Mechagodzilla is the big main boss of Pluto, but you have to get around him to get into the warp zone. That's what I'm going to call it now until I change my mind. The warp zone. Owie, 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 owie. Paragon also has a particular attack that he likes to use. Oh, they did it again! In case you didn't notice, they did it with Mogura before, but when... For some reason, they just decided, no, Paragon isn't going to retreat or die. He's just going to sort of just disappear, and you ain't never going to see him again. Ugh. Yeah, it's kind of annoying how these things start launching the horseshoes of death, especially since, owie, just stop it, especially since there's not much you can do once you're past them, so you have to dodge by moving forward just a little bit, and then you can't fight as effectively. Well, what if I blast the tower, the conning tower? Yeah, it seems like, yep, that did something. Oh, that did something. Alright, so it seems that it's a bit actually like the Hammerhead Shark sub in Godzilla Save the Earth, in that you have to face off and take out all the weapons systems instead of attacking the main body of the machine itself. So, whatever works, I guess. Anyways, back to those enemies I was referring to earlier. In the jungle right now, let's see. Apparently, those orange ships are P1 ships from the Invasion of Astro Monster. Apparently, they're based on the P1 rocket that went to Planet X in Invasion of Astro Monster. And yeah, those swooping things are still the Garoga ships. And as I said, they're from Zone Fighter. Apparently nothing else here is really from anything else, except for, yeah, nothing here seems to actually be from another thing in Godzilla, except for those, foliage cannons, which apparently were from Godzilla vs. Biollante, but that was a good long time ago. Now in these desert ruins area, those little orange things were from Battle in Outer Space. They're the Natal Universe ships. And, yeah. Oh, and the fighter jets, yeah, those are the Natal Universe ships. And those fighter jets, that I called F-15s before, apparently they're F-1 CCV jets. And they're from The Return of Godzilla, which was in 1984. The Return of Godzilla was actually a pretty recent release when this game came out, so they would have known about it, and they would have put quite a few references to it in this game, even though the game is, by its environment and its atmosphere, a lot more akin to the Showa movies. Other than that, not much. Yep, that's a P1 rocket apparently right there. Or at least that's what Toho Kingdom says. I don't know, it doesn't look like the P1 originally did, I don't think. Well, who am I to judge, or argue, or say much of anything? Let's see, the tanks themselves are apparently, also according to that site, Type 61 tanks, and those appeared in a lot of different Toho movies, I do believe. They're just basically, although in the Godzilla movies they're pretty much, let's send out the tanks. Oh no, the tanks are gone. What will we do? At any rate, let's just keep moving, just keep moving. Not that way though, not that way though. And off we are. In the wilderness, let's see, the tiny little, those things that would have taken a chunk out of me if I was Godzilla are the Type 66 Maser Beam tanks. They're from War of the Gargantuas, and they're refined, smaller versions of the huge Markalite cannons from the Mysterians. Other than that, yeah, those things that are in the mountains that open up and shoot things at you are apparently called trap cannons, but it doesn't say much else about them. Apparently the name was actually the name Trap Cannon O was actually come up with by the Toho Kingdom staff because it doesn't actually appear to be from any particular movie. So, yeah, I guess I can't blame them. I mean, I certainly don't recognize it from anything. And those stupid horseshoe ships of death aren't from anything in either, so who's to say what was designed there? I could look a little more into the background of these things. Apparently, the Natal universe ships from Battle in Outer Space are creations of Mainfoot. Yeah, I actually am not too familiar with Battle in Outer Space, which is why I'm looking into it. Apparently, they're the favored spaceships of the invading aliens that are attacking the planet in that movie. So are the Natarals aligned with the aliens? But then again, I'm overthinking this. Pretty much everything here except for the Moonlight SY-3 is trying to kill me. So I'm just gonna keep moving. Boom. At least the rocket launches are nothing really impressive. The Markalites, on the other hand, yikes. But only as long as you're in front of them. When you can fly over them, different story. Let's see, I'm trying to remember if there's any sci-fi movies that have taken place on Pluto. There's nothing I can think of, actually. Not off the top of my head. There's probably some. Feel free to tell me about any that you can think of in the comments section. But I do remember there was one in... there was one called... Yeah, I told you already about Journey to the Seventh Planet. And, of course, Planet X was a moon of Jupiter. And I believe it was... I'm trying to remember if it was... Yeah, I think it was Saturn that they were traveling to in 2001: A Space Odyssey, a moon of Saturn in the movie, and in the book it was Jupiter, I think. Or was it the other way around? Yeah, it was the other way around. Wasn't it? Nah, I don't know. Anyways, they were traveling to either Saturn or Jupiter in the book, and it was different in the movie. They were traveling to the other planet. So, that's all I'm thinking. Apparently the Nataral were shot out of the sky with these giant atomic heat cannons. Pretty much basically think of more updated versions of the Markalites from the Mysterians. Well, as it is, at least Pluto has a number of different places that we're going, a number of different enemies and environments to face. Although I'm not sure what the deal is with these stupid rocks jutting out of the ground. Some of them are just floating there at about chest height on Godzilla. Is that something that we see on Earth? That always bothered me in Avatar, the movie Avatar, not the I mean, James Cameron's Avatar, I should be more specific. That always bothered me, is this big floating chunk of dirt high in the sky with waterfalls coming out of it, and I'm thinking, what is holding this thing up? This isn't like a floating platform ship. Is this like the Angel Island in there? Are we gonna run into Knuckles up here? But no, they never really answered that. Wow, this game is still going! I don't think those missile launchers up in the sky, have actually anything that they, are actually from any particular Toho movie that I can think of. I could be totally wrong, I could be totally off. In fact, I probably am totally wrong and totally off, but whatever. Let's see. Nope, they don't seem to be from anything in particular. On the other hand, I can tell you that aside from those Atragons high up in the sky, there are a number of other things that will run into you later on, but I'll get into those later. Oh, Gigan, will you ever really not annoy us? Yeah, I doubt it. So... there's a blizzard going on outside. I can talk about the weather. As you can guess, this game gets really repetitive after a while. It's not bad throughout the first 2 or 3 stages, but after Saturn or so, it just gets boring. So, what are we going to do now? We're going to try not to get killed by that thing. But what else could we do? I could play yakety sax and speed this thing up so it looks like Godzilla's about 6 inches tall and running around like a hyperactive hamster. I could smash some planes out of the sky like I just did show you there. Get that out, you. And that apparently, Moonlight SY3 will show up in every single stage right up until the end, so good for them. Yeah, I'm running out of concepts. Oh no, 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 no. Now that is a dick move, having those horseshoes of death pop up right at the end of the level. That is the part of the level where you're thinking that you're home free, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, hello, I'm your worst nightmare. I'm the main reason that you never beat the game earlier. Fortunately, that's not a problem anymore. So all you really want to do, what you desperately want to do, is keep going right. Why do you want to desperately keep going right? Because there's nothing else. There's no pickups. There's only destruction that you can levy out against your opponents in a desperate attempt to level up and make yourself more powerful so you can move to the right more quickly. What's particularly annoying is the yeah, this does not really translate well to YouTube's frames per second thing, and as a result, you'll be seeing a lot of things popping in and out of nowhere, and sometimes being hidden behind invisible blocks for no apparent reason. But whatever. Alright, something new! Finally! Mechagodzilla is by far the toughest monster we've faced yet, but as Mothra, there is a trick to it. If you could stay just in reach of him with your eye beams, you can pick away at his chest, his upper chest, his lower neck, and you can just bash away at him without really putting yourself in too much danger. Now, some of the people will say, oh, well, you could just do that by sticking... Well, you could just do that and with impunity, but that's not true. Sometimes Mechagodzilla will just dart forward and smack you with his eye rays, and that will not be fun. There's not really a whole lot you can do about that, but it sure beats the alternative, and the alternative, of course, is getting clobbered. But I don't want to leave Mothra out there all alone to get killed by Mechagodzilla and Gigan, so I'm going to take Godzilla and... No. So I'm going to take Godzilla and move him right here so that both monsters will be made into something of a fortress. Ow. Let's see. What are those skeletal things that you can see in the domed city levels? Ow. Now, will you cut that out? Apparently some places actually call... Yeah, I already mentioned that they call the domed city levels the ruins, because they look like they're falling to pieces. Let's see, these... Oh, the blue things are... Yeah, they're just attack ships. They're apparently not from anything. Although the closest thing they actually look like is the Garuda from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. But they can't be the Garuda. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 didn't come out until well after this game was released. So is this where they got the Garuda from in the first place, maybe? That's kind of uncanny, really. Something actually got inspired by this game? I mean, it's not without precedent. In Godzilla Final Wars, Anguirus started using his rolling ball attack for the first time after it was introduced in Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. But from this game, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee was a good game. Why would they take something out of this game's playbook? Well, whatever. Mechagodzilla basically has all of... Yeah, he sort of has Godzilla's punching and kicking attacks. Well, does he have a kick? I don't think so. Well, he has punching attacks, and he's got eye rays, and he'll move about the same speed as Godzilla, except the only thing he doesn't have that you... The only thing you got that he don't got is a tail whip and an atomic ray, and you should use those things to the best of your abilities. So, let's move on out. Mothra, you take point. Oh boy, not that way. Well, we're nearing the end of the level, and you can always tell you're nearing the end of the level because these are stupid Machine City levels are what will show up. Ow. Well, at least now that the Machine City is, Aye! At least the Machine Cities get repetitive, and while they do get repetitive since there's nothing really new about anything in them, they're actually pretty easy to get past if you just take one challenge at a time and ignore the fact that missiles are spawning off-screen from God knows where and just smacking you in the face. So as long as you just ignore all the danger, you'll be just fine. Or more accurately, as long as you acknowledge the danger but don't get too hung up on it, then you'll do just fine. Boom, 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 yada yada. The gray levels are the most difficult ones, I believe, in terms of the Machine Cities. Looks a bit like a Death Star trench run, doesn't it? Can I... Yes! Okay, so that does work. After that... We'll just keep... It does look exactly like the Death Star trench run, except this Death Star in particular is a pain in the ass, because it actually has turrets within the giant canyon. Trench. I should know. I should have called it a trench, because it's the trench run. You dingus. Okay, what else is there? Eee! I do not like machine guns in my face, thank you very much. In some levels, you'll actually run into the space station from Gorath as well. But that space station from Gorath is also from the Mysterians, I believe. Eh, whatever. Let's get out of here. Right, now that Mothra's gone, we're going to face off against Gigan anyway! Yay! Well, at any rate, it's an annoyance, but not a severe annoyance. Now that Gigan is in serious... Yeah, that's one thing you want to remember about Gigan, is the fact that he has lots and lots of buzzsaw juice. Don't even try and attack him while he's using the buzzsaw as Godzilla, or you will be in a world of hurtin'. You will be a hurtin' cowpoke, yes sir, Bob. Just keep fighting, and down he goes. Now that Gigan's down, there's really nothing keeping us from just charging at the thing and winning. Where did Mogra and Baragon go? I mean, they obviously went to the next world, but... Ow. Going to the next world does make it sound like it killed him. You'll never see him again in this life. Ow. Just keep stomping. Just keep stomping and living and breathing. Ow. It does help that you're actually playing as a character who's tough enough to take a missile to the face and actually punch a missile out of midair, but even though it's... No. Take that. Okay, now take this. Take these and those. Anybody else remember that gag from Looney Tunes? Bugs finds a bunch of sleeping pills, looks at the front, take these and those. Yeah, I'm dating myself, aren't I? I'm 25. How can I date myself? That's... Oh god, I'm turning 26 next year. Oh god, I'm turning 26 in a couple of days, actually. distance. That's not going to be pleasant. Oh, I do hate it when those walls just spring out of nowhere. Kick, kick, kick. At least nothing that is coming at me is really seriously dangerous, except for that thing. That thing, that dreadful thing, you know what it is. It has no name, and I must scream because I see it. Boot. Alright then. So, only got one more area to go, and then the longest level in the game is over. Thank goodness. This is not a pleasant or enjoyable experience. But, fortunately, no other level in the game will be anywhere near that long. The next one will be unpleasant for its own reasons, but after that, it's gonna get a lot less painful. So, as we... Uh-oh! Where do you come from, you rapscallion? Boom. I do not like it when they pop out of left field. Well, at least, if nothing else, I'll be allowed to... Yes! At the moment, just keep fighting and fighting until... Come on, so close, almost there. Yes! Well, ladies and gentlemen, now that Pluto is through, we'll be moving to the next area. Great. See you then.